Hi, I'm Lear Gilmwaters. If you like my mommy's show, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Welcome to Life with the Spectrum. I'm Gina Cavalli, and it goes without saying, our family members with ASD have social deficits and kind of have to learn executive function skills the rest of us take for granted. How to recognize when you're being bullied and what to do about it. How to throw a successful party that may come easy to you and I, but for those who are neurodiverse, they really need as much help as they can with that. I'm so happy to welcome on the show Dr. Laugeson, who is the founder and director out at UCLA and the Peers Clinic. Hi, Dr. Laugeson.
Hi, Gina. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for being on the show. Let's jump right into it because I want to know when and what specifically made you kind of come up with the Peers program and who is it designed for?
All right. Well, it's actually designed for anyone who wants to learn the skills for making and keeping friends or for dating, for employment, whatever the program happens to be. But, originally I developed the program at UCLA back in 2003, which I cannot believe is 20 years ago now, officially. But basically at the time, I was actually involved with a research study that was looking at helping young children with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder learn how to make and keep friends. Very different group of young people. But it just so happened that, we were doing this study for kids with FAS, but the phone was ringing off the hook of parents of teens on the autism spectrum. And they knew that our program wasn't for them, but they were really desperate for services in our community, and there wasn't anything. This is 20 years ago in LA, which is a pretty big metropolitan area. And I thought, well, that's not acceptable. We need to do something about that. And so I was very fortunate to get an NIH-funded postdoctoral fellowship to develop and test Peers.
I love this. So what kinds of things does Peers teach?
Right. Well, it kind of depends on the program. We have a number of programs, but really our flagship program is all about helping young people learn to make and keep friends, as well as handle things like conflict and rejection, things like bullying and teasing. And, it's unique in that it's not just focused on these skills, but it's also focused on helping parents and other support, figures, being social coaches to young people out in the real world.
You mentioned that you have several programs. Mm-hmm. Is this something that is taught kind of year round? So you go through one program and then you kind of graduate that program and move on to another. And if so, what does that other program look like then? Just a different set of things that they need to learn?
Yeah, there's various programs. They can live independently from each other, or people can go through multiple programs, but it kind of depends on what the young person is struggling with, really. A lot of young people, for example, struggle with friendships and knowing how to develop and maintain friendships with people. So that would be a Peers program. Other people are struggling with things like bullying and rejection, and that can also be a target of some of our treatments. And then, one of the things that we've been doing more recently is developing programs for young people that are interested in dating, developing romantic relationships with other people, which can, anybody could benefit from that kind of program, right? Not such an easy thing. Yeah. And then also things like employment, finding and maintaining employment can be very challenging for a lot of young people, particularly neurodivergent young people. And so we also have programs around that topic.
Yeah, I love the fact that after speaking with some colleges that have adopted the Peers program, I've now found high schools and kids that are in middle school on that upper end, 8th grade or whatnot, starting to use the Peers program that you developed. Do you think there will ever come a time, Dr. Laugeson, that you develop kind of a Peers program for the littler ones? Or do you think that it's better left with the ABA therapist, the speech and language, to get them to that part where they can actually understand a little bit more about Peers?
Yeah, we actually do have a program for younger kids. It's called Peers for Preschoolers. And so what's kind of funny about the timing of this conversation that we're having is that I'm in the middle of a writing retreat for the Peers for Preschoolers manual. I took some time away from that writing retreat to be with you today, Gina. But yes, this is a program that's actually been researched now for over 15 years, and we are ready to go public with it. This is not something that we just do overnight, if you can't tell, right? This is a program that we really, all of our programs are, things that we want to research very extensively, make sure that they work before we open them up to the public. So yes, we do have a program for younger kids. And a lot of people use our adolescent program with some adaptations for, grade school age children too. So there's definitely programs out there that are available for the younger ones.
Learning just how to take turns is a big one.
Absolutely.
When I get back with Dr. Laugeson, we're going to check in with some success stories right here on Life with the Spectrum. Stay with me.
Hi, I'm Lear Gilwaters. Thanks to our friends at...
Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm your host, Gina Cavalli. Sitting with me today, Dr. Laugeson here from UCLA Peers Clinic. You are the founder, the director out there. And I'm sure you have a million or so success stories. Does one particularly resonate with you, or a couple that you can share with us today after using the Peers program?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many success stories over 20 years, right? We get emails from parents and from young people weekly, with all of their exciting, stories of success. But I guess the stories that stick with me the most are the ones where we've had young people who've gone through our program and, maybe as adolescents and come back later as adults and wanting to sort of be a part of the team and to act as a social coach for other young people, kind of, paying it forward and giving back in that way. And I love those stories. We have many people on our team and, presently and also in the past that have been former participants in our program. And I think that's wonderful. They all have their own personal success stories about making and keeping friends or dating, getting into college and, moving away from home, whatever, their goals might have been. But to have them come back and, sort of the situation where the student becomes the teacher. I love those stories. In fact, I just recently was giving a lecture and I saw someone in the audience that looked really familiar, looked like someone maybe I had known and worked with years before as a teenager. And in fact, at the end of the lecture, he came up to me and it was the young person that I was thinking it was. He was just grown up. He's an adult. And he came to the lecture because he wanted to tell me what was going on in his life. And he had become a teacher. And he was working in a middle school and he was teaching peers to his students. And I thought that was amazing because, again, it's this full circle where, again, that the student becomes the teacher. So those are I think my favorite stories.
And I know with peers, or at least what I've read about peers, is that it's a lot of parent interaction as well. So how do the parents facilitate? Is it more like, can we role play something? Can you give me, let's role play.
Okay. I love a good role play. Absolutely.
Okay, good. So I'm in your clinic and I'm sitting there and I really need to, because, Frank over here, he's been telling me that I'm not worth anything and that I'm never going to, amount to anything. What do we do here?
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a situation of bullying, right? Where someone is sort of being teased with words and made to sort of feel belittled. And so I usually will start with parents with talking about the social advice that kids often get in these situations, because the truth is, Gina, really well-intentioned adults will often give really bad advice in social situations.
Okay.
So, not intentionally, it just happens. I think just because you have good social skills doesn't mean you know how to teach them. So this is where the research comes in. It's really important. So I'll first start by asking the parent, and we'll assume that you're the parent because we're doing a role play here. So Gina, we have some great strategies to help with that. But before we get into that, I want to ask you, what do you think that most adults tell kids to do in this situation? Imagine a kid is being teased. What are they told to do?
Yeah. They're told, I know that it hurts. I know that you're the last person to be asked to play with on the block. And then they don't come to the door when you come knocking. And I'm sorry for that, baby. But you know what? We can do other activities and maybe find some friends that you do really want to play with and that want to play with you. And just know that it has nothing to do with you, that you are picture perfect the way you are. And we can try to go have some fun and do something else. And for me, Dr. Laugeson, I try to redirect, because it's almost as hurtful to me as it is to my son.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that
You
a
know?
lot of parents can probably resonate with that feeling for sure. And I mean, I think that what you said there, Gina, was excellent, right? Like you, that was wonderful coaching for your child and showing empathy. It's always good to start with a place with empathy of, letting them know that you can understand how they feel, but also offering, these alternatives. What you really summed up was actually a saying that we have in Peers, which is friendship is a choice. Right? We don't get to be friends with everyone. Not everyone gets to be friends with us. We need to make good choices. A person who's making fun of us, that's not going to be a good choice. But we still have to give our kids strategies, in this case, for handling that teasing. And so one of the things I've discovered in kind of asking that question to parents about, what are most kids told to do in response to teasing, kind of like in the moment, they're
Yeah.
often told to ignore the teasing. You probably heard that before, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or walk away.
Go tell somebody.
Or tell somebody. Exactly. And those are the three things we always hear from kids is ignore, walk away, tell an adult. But guess what? When we ask kids if those strategies work, what do you think they say?
No, they just come back and do it to me again the next day.
That's right. Exactly. Right. If you ignore them, they'll keep teasing you. If you walk away, they'll follow you. Right. And keep teasing you. And if you tell an adult, ooh, they're going to want to retaliate, right? Because you just tried to get them in trouble. So actually, those are not what we call ecologically valid social skills. So that's a kind of a technical term for teaching what works, right? In reality, is you want to teach something that's ecologically valid. So we've done research on this to figure out, well, what do kids do that are kind of socially successful at escaping that teasing? And it's actually very simple. They just give a very short comeback that shows that what the person said didn't bother them, right? And in fact, what they said was kind of stupid, right? So they'll say something like, whatever, or yeah, or am I supposed to care? Is that supposed to be funny? They'll roll their eyes, they'll shrug their shoulders, and they give the impression it doesn't bother them. That's what we want to teach in social skills training, right? Is to teach kids how to handle these really challenging social situations, but flip, in this case, the power dynamic, right? Now I'm in control because I'm not bothered by what you're saying. And in fact, I probably just kind of embarrassed you for what you just said. It's making it not fun for the person teasing me.
I really like this. And I think actually, the more I think about it, Dr. Laugeson, I think that like all schools should teach peers, whether you're neurotypical or neurodivergent, it doesn't matter. Like, I think everyone can benefit, maybe even some adults.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We teach this to adults as well, by the way. But I agree completely. And a lot of people who go through our program say the same thing. You don't have to be neurodivergent to struggle socially with things like teasing or even making and keeping friends. And that's why our programs, even though I'm often doing research on neurodivergent young people, the programs are actually clinically open to anybody who wants to learn the skills. And so we have a lot of young people that really benefit from these programs.
I love this. Sitting with me today, Dr. Laugeson. When we get back, we're going to find out a little bit about what are some other therapies and skills that maybe she can recommend to families, either first learning of the diagnosis or maybe a little bit later on, where we can kind of go from there. Hold on.
Hi, I'm Dr. Laugeson. You're watching my mommy, Gina Cavalli, on Life with the Spectrum, the world's best show in America or anywhere on this earth. So please, if you like Life with the Spectrum, then please watch it. Every single episode that comes out is very important to you and to me.
Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm your host, Gina Cavalli. With me today, the founder and director over at UCLA and the Peers Clinic, Dr. Laugeson. I know that you've done your research and that you continue. It's a daily thing for you. What's some advice, or what out of your studies do you believe are those great therapies that families need to start right away and then actually progress as the adolescent gets a little older?
Well, I think before choosing any type of intervention, you really need to do a thorough assessment of what's going on with that kid. There's a saying that if you met one person with autism, you met one person with autism, right? I mean, there's so much diversity, even just on the autism spectrum alone. And so really getting in there and doing an assessment and evaluation of what's going on and what are the needs that's the starting point, right? If it's, communication skills and language, then, some ABA based types of interventions. I like the naturalistic kind of interventions. Like there's pivotal response treatment is really great for improving communication. Also, the Early Start Denver model, Jasper program. And you can start very young, at very young ages with kids. And a lot of these programs have parent participation, right? You just not just dropping your kid off to get therapy, but we want to teach parents how to help to improve their child's social communication. So kind of figuring out what the challenges are is the first start, and really being a good consumer of your interventions, right? Really do your research. I mean, a good Google search even sometimes can be helpful in looking up interventions that have been suggested, right? So some have strong research evidence to back them up. And that is the kind of program that I would recommend. There's a lot of other interventions out there that might get a lot of attention, but maybe don't have a really strong evidence base or research to support that program. I'm probably going to be less interested in programs like that if there's not actually support for what they're doing.
I had one guest on the show that said, and she nailed it on the money. She said, Gina, you know what? If you have a pretty website, it's like parents want to click because they don't know. Yeah. Or, what you first hit in Google, they just take the say top 2 Google searches and immediately think that's what's going to work for me because, well, those are the first 2 things that come up. So it must be good. And they have a pretty website, so they must be good. But that's not always the case.
I mean, honestly, it really isn't. You're so right. Because, a lot of times the folks who are developing these evidence-based or research-supported programs are so busy doing the research and everything. We're not always great about marketing our stuff. We're not the salespeople out there with the pretty websites, and we're just kind of focusing on developing the intervention. Some of them, unfortunately, don't even get disseminated or shared with the community. That's okay. That's a different story. That's actually not acceptable. But of the ones that are publicly available, really do your research and figure out, are these evidence-based? If you were to just go to Amazon, for example, and, type in social skills and autism or something, you're going to see scores and scores of books and manuals pop up. But guess what? There's only a couple that actually are evidence-based. And so really going a little bit further to figure out, what is this actually an effective program? Is there research that shows that it actually works? And that's just being a good consumer.
Now, speaking of books, Dr. Laugeson, you have many, and the Peers program have many books. And I don't know, is this open to the public, or do you have to go through a particular program, i.e. the high school or the college or coming out to LA, or can parents get these books and kind of self-teach themselves to self-teach their children?
Yeah, great question. I mean, one of the goals of really what we do is to make sure that we're sharing this program with as many people as possible. We don't want people to have to come to UCLA to receive this intervention. And so actually, we're really dedicated to publishing publicly available manuals. So anybody can access a Peers manual, for example, on Amazon. And you don't even have to go through a training, although we do offer certified trainings for professionals. In fact, Peers is actually used in over 150 countries now and has been translated into over a dozen languages. And so if you go to our UCLA Peers Clinic website, you could find a provider more likely in your community. But also because I know not everybody can access a Peers program in their community, I also have a book called The Science of Making Friends that I wrote for parents who can't access a Peers program, or maybe have a kid that's not willing to participate. That happens sometimes, right? But parents want to know how to be good social coaches to their kids. And so that book is also available. And you don't even have to be a kid to benefit, right? This book is also written for adults as well.
So outside of Amazon and providers, people can go to UCLA. Can you give everyone the website out there too?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website is www.semel, which is semel.ucla.edu/peers. And again, you can also find these books on Amazon pretty easily.
Amazon is a great resource too. I know. Now, is there anything you're looking forward to? Like, what's next for you? I know that you're working on the Preschool Peers program. Can you share any tidbits of what that might look like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a really fun program as well. You talked about role plays. We do a lot of role plays. We did one here just a moment ago. But we do a lot of role plays in our program, and in Peers for Preschoolers, we also do role plays, but they're puppet facilitated role plays. And so we do a lot of puppet shows to get the kids' attention to learn the skills that we're teaching. And we teach parents how to be good social coaches to their kids, how to enroll their kids in play groups where they might meet peers that they can potentially be friends with, how to organize play dates with other parents. What's interesting about organizing a play date, by the way, is that asking another parent for a play date is a lot like asking someone on a date.
I agree.
We do. I mean, we teach skills related to, developing and maintaining romantic relationships and peers for dating. But it's ironic how much overlap there is between asking someone a date and asking someone for a play date. So we would do a role play and sort of showing what not to do and what to do. This would not be the puppet facilitated role play. This would just be for parents. But although they might enjoy that. But really, we break it down into these very concrete steps. You start with sort of this casual conversation with the other parent. It's someone you probably talked to casually before, maybe at drop off or pick up at a play group. And you've identified hopefully some common interests. Like there's got to be a mutual interest between the kids. Maybe it's just that they gravitate towards each other and play. Maybe they both love playing arts and crafts or something like that. But you're going to mention sort of this mutual interest that they have. And you're going to use that mutual interest as sort of this cover story or excuse for, hey, maybe having a play date and do some arts and crafts or something like that. And you sort of assess the parents' interest. And if they seem interested, you sort of exchange contact information. That's very similar to how you ask someone on a date, right? You sort of both really like, some sort of, some music or something, some band has got some concert that's coming up and you sort of mention this concert or whatever. And then actually with a date, you'd probably first ask sort of what they're doing. Like, well, what are you doing this weekend? Or what are you doing on Saturday? And you see how they sort of react to that. And then you use that interest as a cover story for going out. Maybe we should go see that concert together. So kind of interesting how the social skills are similar for different reasons.
I love this Peers program that you developed. And as you said, 150 countries now have adopted it. That's got to make your heart smile really from the core, because you developed this because you care and are passionate about neurodiversity and about helping people on the spectrum or any other diagnoses that may be affected with that social deficit kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Gina. I mean, I think that, there's a saying that research is me search. Like if you're really passionate about something, that's why you do it. And I think, for me, I grew up in an environment where it was constantly changing. I went to, by the time I was 24, I'd lived in 21 different places and
Wow.
I'd gone to 13 different schools by the time I got my doctorate. I mean, I had moved around a lot. And so I think for me, it's not just kids that are struggling socially that maybe are neurodivergent. There's a lot of kids that might struggle socially. I had to learn to adapt to my environment a lot, and I had to decode the social world for myself if I wanted to have friends, and figuring out the rules and steps of what's going on. And I think that sort of led to this passion of teaching others to do the same, to just simply decode the social world so that we can all be socially successful.
And I think Peers is helping a lot of families decode from one topic to the next. Dr. Laugeson, thank you so much for your time today, being on the show. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy woman, so thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Gina.
Have you ever met somebody where you're immediately like, I so want to be their friend? Like, that's how I felt this whole interview. Dr. Laugeson, the founder and director over at the Peers Clinic out in UCLA, go Bruins. We've talked to colleges here at home like Georgia Tech and some high schools right here that have adopted the Peers program. It's that good. And it's not just for the neurodiverse. It's also for neurotypical people who just want to maybe learn how to navigate that world of dating or how to learn to be a little bit more social or party plan. There seems to be something for everyone. everyone within this Peers program. And like she said, it's so easy to grab the books. You can grab them on Amazon. So do that today. At least start looking through what they have to offer, because maybe you and your family can use something right there in the moment. And, you know, it's free delivery on Prime, right? Anyway, listen, as we continue to live life with the spectrum, it really is my job to connect you with resources and tools that maybe you knew or didn't know about, to talk with leading experts and doctors and schools and therapists and people really being a force for good, changing the landscape that we live in for our new neurodivergent population. And so, again, like, comment, share, subscribe. If there's somebody I need to be talking to, you know, put it in the comment below. DM me or send me an email, gina@gcast.com, and I'll make sure to reach out with them. I thank you so much for checking in again with me today. Until next time, we live life with the spectrum. See ya.
Bye.